Hey everybody, I am Kevin Iole. Welcome to Yahoo Sports UFC 280 on October 22nd in Abu Dhabi. One of the great cards UFC has put together in a long time, and they put together some good cards. This one is going to be really something else. And one of my guests right now is Aljamain Sterling, the Bantamweight champion. He is fighting TJ Dillashaw in the co-main event of what should be a fabulous fight. Aljo, how you doing, my friend?
Good. I'm excited to take on TJ Pilj and take out the snake.
So I take it that you're not believing the results coming from USADA that TJ has been clean since the violation that got him suspended for 2 years.
Definitely not. He can say whatever he wants though. That guy's a weasel, man. He's gonna figure out any way possible to get around it. And as you see with any of these people who do these studies on these tests, man, they always say that the way people cheat is always going to be ahead of the testing protocols. So if there's a will, there's a way, and TJ's one of those guys who wills it into existence, man. He's been doing it for years, and I'm not buying that he's all of a sudden just stopped. Like, I just don't believe that's in his nature.
I'll throw this at you though, just to be fair to him, right? He lost 2 years of his career. He lost, his reputation has been soiled. Look at, you just called him, everybody. That's a lot of money that he lost. Why would he do it again, given what he lost the last time? And the fact that you guys are tested so carefully.
I mean, we were tested so carefully for how many years he didn't get caught. He got caught by the New York State Athletic Commission. There's a big difference from getting caught from USADA. USADA's thing was that testing for EPO was too expensive. This whole time, I thought they tested for everything. They were pretty much only testing for steroids or whatever it is that they said it was. So there's no guarantee that this guy's been doing it the right way ever. Sure. I mean, his teammates already outed him from years ago, and it is what it is, man. I mean, you even had Cody Garbrandt who outed him at the press conference, and everyone swept it under the rug. And he said, and TJ gave a third grader response like, "Oh yeah, sure, yeah, I've been cheating, yeah." And then he gets caught, and it was like, dude, he only said this years ago before he even fought Sayudo, and yeah, man. So it is what it is. Like, I know the guy is just not a good person. I've met him in person a couple of times. He's an arrogant little prick, and he needs some humbling, man. The Iron Sheik way, So break his back, make him humble, suplex.
Well, you know who my buddy is, right? The Iron Sheik. So
yeah. But no, I know he's been being tested, but again, USADA wasn't the one that caught him. So what the hell's the difference between then and now? It's really not. Like, I already made peace with it, that there's more than likely, there's a 90% chance that this guy found a way to get around it, and he's going to do it, and it is what it is. Like, I made peace with that. And if I lose to him, I lose to him. I really don't give a shit. At the end of the day, I'm going to give my best foot forward and may the better man win, whether it's a guy who's clean versus the guy who's juiced to the gills, So, again, he lost everything he lost, but he also made everything he made in the process of ruining a lot of people's careers. So for what it's worth, like, yo, yeah, I lost 2 years of my career. Dude, I don't even want to hear that, bro. Like, you made out like a bandit in the night, and you got a slap on the wrist. Like, you should have been suspended. I think he should have been banned. I still think people can say whatever they want, saying that this is a soft mentality. You're doing an illegal substance that is performance enhancing in a combat sport where you are inflicting brain damage onto somebody. That should result in some type of criminal charges. Now there's when you're pretty much coming to the cage with a bat or something. That's what I equate the whole thing to. So you can say people can say whatever they want because they're not the ones that are training and risking their lives.
Right.
And then you will hear those same people who are bitching and saying that, oh, we're complaining and whining, will be the same ones to be people. There's just no winning. They'll say, oh, no one told you to do this sport.
Well, let me say this. Like, years ago, there's a million videos of me haranguing Dana White about not doing testing on fighters, right? And I'm saying, hey, these guys are hitting each other in the head, kicking each other in the head, blah, 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 blah. Okay. But now that, the testing is in and they're spending tens of millions of dollars on that testing. What good is it if if the athletes themselves don't have confidence in it, right? So it sounds like you don't have confidence in the testing that USADA is doing. Have you reached out to Jeff Nowitzki or Hunter Campbell or anybody with USADA and said, hey, these are problems I as an athlete see in the testing protocol?
I mean, I think they know what it is already. I mean, they can say whatever they want about how much money they're spending, but if you're gonna go outright on record and say that you don't actually test for X, Y, and Z because of the price range of this, then what are we doing? What is the point of doing all this? Is it just for show? Do you catch the people that you just feel like catching when it's convenient? Like I don't really understand the mindset with everything. And I think that's where it stops and dies for me. It's if you're gonna do it all the way. Don't do it half-ass. Like that's just pretty much where I'm at. Like if you're gonna say, oh, I'm spending X amount of money, then spend the money and then do it the right way and try to catch the people. Make it randomized. Maybe you're not doing it for everybody, but make it randomized. Pick a couple of people per month and start like
I
really
think that's what
trying
they
to catch
do.
people. With EPO and everything? Apparently not.
Yeah, I think
Apparently not.
Yeah, somebody got
I
through.
mean, if they did, then why wasn't TJ caught?
Well, I think what happened, so I'm not an expert, so I don't want to go too far into this, but I think what happens sometimes is EPO has
just so you know, I'm not an expert either. So I just only know what I hear on people that are deemed more intellectual in that space, like the more plates, more dates guy and whatever. So I only know like to a
well,
certain
EPO has a short
amount.
half-life, right? Meaning it stays in your system a very short time. And that's how Lance Armstrong, I know for sure, how Lance Armstrong was able to get around it. Because what they did was the rules at that time said you could only be tested once in a 24-hour period. So once he got tested, then they could take it after that because they knew when the test would come again, right? And so they were able to avoid the agents until they knew they were clean. So EPO gets out of your system in a very quick manner. So to catch them, you had to kind of be sophisticated and know when, and not only know, hey, I want to test X person, but when to test X person. I think, I think there was EPO testing, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to be 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure there has been.
For TJ, in particular,
Yeah,
yourself.
for you, all you guys.
I mean, from what I understand, they never tested us for EPO. From what I understand,
right?
So that's why I'm just confused by the whole thing. It's just like,
gotcha.
what are we doing? Are we playing charades? Like, I don't know.
Let me ask you this: you're going into a fight, so we know how mental fighting is. And before your last fight, you were coming off a win, and I'll say a win this way: win over Peter Yan. That a lot of people thought was a loss, right? Didn't deserve to be a win. And that bothered you. I mean, I remember talking to you and seeing you, and you were bothered by the reaction of that. Now you go out and you actually win that fight and you prove yourself as the legitimate champion of the world. So instead of being able to go out and have a title defense and fight and, prove how good you are, now you got it in your mind again that you got this issue, right? It's like, do you ever wonder, when am I ever going to get a normal fight and not have to have all this stuff going on?
Yeah, but what's a fight without some drama, Other than that, it's just a fight, I guess. So to have a little drama, a little bit of a storyline makes it more fun. At least from the way I say it, I like the drama. I'll just sit there with my popcorn all day long. Like I'll go on Twitter and just read a thread just to see what people are saying. That's
right.
just the type of person I am, and kind of how we grew up, So, I mean, it is what it is. I think it just makes more for a unique story. And then if it ever does come out, like the amount of guys that competed against that have been on, I think it just makes it that much better, So I'll be sitting nice and steady in my rocking chair when I'm old. And I think my wherewithals are all going to be intact in comparison to all these other guys who've been on and their body is falling apart, So right now, hopefully it's worth it to these guys when they're in pain later. You have no idea what this stuff is going to do to you in 10, 20 years, So I don't touch any of that. But again, when it comes to the storyline, I think it just makes more for a more drama-filled fight, and it makes it a little bit bigger than someone has to eat their words. That's why I talk to begin with. I always talk because someone has to eat their words. You're either going to be afraid to say how you really feel, or you're going to say it with your chest, and I say it with my chest.
Yes, you do.
I'm willing to go out there and put my money where my mouth is. And a lot of these guys are afraid to do that. So when they have to sign the dotted line against me, they're already knowing that I'm going to come in saying some shit, and that's just the way it is. With this, TJ already knew he had to come in. No matter who he fights, it's going to always be a talking
topic.
Yeah.
You made your statement in the ring last time though, right? Because that first round you go out there and all the shit that you got from not only from Peter Yan, who was ripping you, but a lot of the fan base and some of the media and whatnot. you come out and you dominate those first 2 rounds, and you're looking like, hey, I wonder how much you put into his head, like he's going, what the hell? This isn't the same guy I fought before.
Yeah, I would imagine he thought that. And especially when I got him down and held him down, I think even the first fight, man, like I said, I explained why my performance was like that. And it's like everyone forgot how good I was in the blink of an eye. It was like everyone had amnesia. I'm like, do you think I just randomly just suck overnight and then this guy just became this super athlete, God-given talent? I'm like, look at the guys we fought. We have some common opponents, and those common opponents, those matchups did not look the same. So I'm just like, if you guys want to write me off, that's fine. I know why I showed up like that. I already said it was my fault, my mistake, but it wouldn't happen again. And in the rematch, I got to show that, and I got a little cocky in that fourth round when I took him down.
Yeah.
I try to be extra fancy, and I try to jump on his back and get style points because I want to get some cool highlights. And it backfired, and I fell off the top, and then he ended up in top of my guard. It is what it is. I took him down in the fifth round as well. That fifth round was very, very close. Honestly, watching that fifth round, I'm like, depending on how you're scoring it, you can really score it either way because there was very little damage done and more about control time, And I think people are just so blinded by they just wanted to be right that Jan was going to win by anything he wants, blah, 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 the boogeyman. And when I shut that down, it was just kind of like, I'm confused. No. He won round one by a kick. No, he won round one because he was walking forward with a mean Arthur face, and it looked like he was really scary and might do something dangerous, but never hit the guy. So I'm just like, all these things grasping at straws. It just makes everything so much more sweeter for me because I'm just like, man, I could be so petty and I could still keep talking about this, but I'm just like, all right, on to the next one.
Exactly.
I had my moment. I had my fun in the sun with it, and I think I will see Jan again at some point. And right now, I'm just focused on the guy that I got in front of me, and that's TJ Dillashaw.
When you look at him, so you went on the long rant about what you suspect that he's been doing, but is there anything in his fight game, like, is there any fight, either the Sandhagen fight or the Cejudo fight that he lost? That was pretty quick, so I don't know if you can take anything from that that you look at that you see there's areas where you can take advantage.
I just think that I'm the bigger, stronger athlete. I mean, he can say whatever he wants. He said, I'm just a good athlete. He's also just a good athlete. And this athlete's smart enough to fight where he doesn't get hit. This athlete fights wild enough to the point where his face always looks like mush after the fights, So there's no real like crazy takeaways. I think I'm bigger. I think I'm stronger. I think my endurance is just as good, especially if he's not going to be on the juice. I think the gear, I should call it. If he's not going to be on the gear, I think our conditioning is going to be right there neck and neck. And I think I probably edge him out. My grappling, I think he's never fought someone who actually wants to keep him down on the ground or actually has the back control or the takedown control. All this other stuff, watching his takedown escapes and watching how he gets up. I'm just like, if you think you're going to get up like that against me, good luck to you, man. So even if he does it once or twice, I'm like, dude, you got to do that for 25 minutes. That's going to be a hard time to do that against someone who's bigger than you and who can literally go zombie mode and just do that all fight long. So he's got some good tricks, but other than that, I mean, everyone's got some good tricks, It's just about studying your opponent, understanding what they do, and then studying yourself and how can you implement your game. And I think I got the perfect recipe for him.
You obviously have a pretty good staff of people around you, coaches and whatnot around you. But I want to ask you, one of your coaches, Ray Longo, is a guy that you watch John Anik's show. You love Ray Longo, right? You get, you hear a lot of. What is it like in a corner when Ray Longo's going crazy, right? And just yelling at you and pumping you up. I mean, what goes through your head when you see that guy, throwing everything into it like he does?
It shows he cares, man. For me, I come from that type of coaching background, just loud, in your face, waking you up, making sure you hear them kind of thing. And that's always been like my coaching style as well. But, it doesn't work for everybody. Fortunately for me, it works. I actually relish in it. And I enjoy it, so it's cool. I think for other people, it might even psych them out a bit because I know they're big fans of hearing that. And then when they got to be across the cage and then have to be the one dealing with that. I think it's a little different for them, but for me, it's all good, man. I enjoy the moment. I like having those guys in the corner and just having the experience, just knowing what I do, seeing the stuff that I do, knowing what we're capable of. That all ties in together. And I think it just makes everything work.
They were pretty exercised after the fourth round of your last fight because, it's like I thought of the old boxing highlight, Angelo Dundee and Sugar Ray Leonard. You're blowing it, son. You're blowing it, right? When that happened, and they were kind of upset. Hey, they wanted you to get that back. You lost the momentum, and they wanted you to get it back. Did they make a difference in the corner after the fourth round in terms of kind of recentering you and getting you remotivated to go out and win the fifth?
Yes and no. I mean, if I'm being honest, I felt like I was up comfortably with a 10-8 round. Like if I'm going back to the moment of the fight, I felt like I had a 10-8 round in the second round, possibly a 10-8 in the third, but that one I wasn't so sure about. And in the first round, I knew I won because I counted the strikes in my head. So I was like, dude, I'm pretty much pitching a shutout. This guy got an opportunity to be on top for 2 minutes and did absolutely zero. Didn't even. I think he might have thrown 3 punches and maybe one of them gotten through like barely, like a glancing shot. Other than that, I'm like, I was kind of like, I felt like I was like, even if I don't win the fifth round, like this is the way I'm thinking. I'm like, even if I don't win the fifth round, I won technically, with 10-8 round, I won 4 rounds, minus the fourth. But in terms of the scoring, I'm like, there's no way this guy wins. He needs to get a finish. So in my head, it was just like, fight smart, don't be stupid. Make him wrestle as much as you can make him wrestle. This way he takes away from his opportunities to get a knockout strike in the open space. And that was like the mindset in that moment, and obviously I know they were telling me like, let's get this fifth round kind of thing, but that was the way I was thinking. So it was kind of like a combative motion, but then I did get the takedown. I was like, I could just kind of just hang out here, but then I kind of let him up and then he fought out. Actually, he fought out well that time defensively. And when he escaped, we went back to another scramble. Then he got the takedown. It was just kind of like us playing roly-poly on the ground. So there was no real like threat, like, oh my God, you're about to lose. I was kind of just hanging out. Like you see me looking up at the clock, just like, oh, okay. I'm just kind of hanging out. I know some people are like, oh, you gave away. I did give away the rounds. So I will say that's probably not ideal going into this fight. So that's one thing I did have to mentally like work on. Like, hey man, we don't give away rounds. Like, even if it's a comeback from a 13-month layoff, let's not give away rounds and make it muddy like we did the last fight, so that's
because if you lose one round, it's 20% of the fight.
Yeah. So that's the way I kind of looked at it afterwards. And I was like, but in the moment, this is what I was thinking,
right?
Because I always try to process what's going on minute by minute. Okay, if I won this first minute, it's 4 minutes left. If I do this, tie him up, push him in the cage, I should theoretically be winning based on what I'm doing in my head. Right. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's been working so far. So I ain't gonna stop.
You got a belt around it. Let's end with this. And you're a smart guy, and you've obviously thought a lot about judging and everything. So the risk you take is what you just referenced. In my head, I'm winning. You don't know for sure, if you're winning the judges. How do we improve the judging? I mean, it seems like some people want to change the 10-point must system. I'm not sure that there's a better way around it. Like, do you score the whole fight? Do you have any thoughts on how MMA judging can be improved, or you think it's just we have to train better people going forward?
Man, I think a perfect example is like even Mackenzie Dern versus Xiaonan Yan the last weekend, and watching that fight was very disturbing because I don't even know what else you have to do anymore to get a 10-8. Some people were saying she didn't land any significant strikes. I'm like, have you ever been on the ground with gravity, getting flattened out with someone throwing punches on you, albeit not like they're posturing up and dropping like these elbows. But if you're on the ground with gravity punching you in the head multiple times, that does not feel good. You're probably going to have, more than likely going to have a headache at the end of that night. So I think it comes down to the judges need to go into these positions, because then you kind of eradicate what it is for a 10-8 round for a grappler. So you understand what a knockout is, a knockdown is, a clean knockdown, not one where a guy's moving and he's sidestepping and you hit him with a jab and then he falls over and then it's like, oh, he knocked you down. Like, this isn't boxing. Like, that's a quick little off balancing thing. So yeah, that could have been a little strike that just caught the guy in between the step versus a hard strike where a guy sat you down. Like, yeah, like my fight with Piotr Jan in the first round, he sat me down with the right hand. That's a clean, clear-cut knockdown. That's the difference between something like that and something being caught in transition, where you kind of got to look at it a little bit differently. Like, okay,
Right.
that was a significant strike. Let's not weigh it so heavily as a straight up knockdown. And then for grappling, we don't have that clarity because you get 4 minutes of control time for myself, for Mackenzie Dern, and then for a Patricky Mix. Patricky Mix gets a 10-8 round. I don't get a 10-8 round, going for submissions and big ground and pound, and having big moments in that round as well. And then Mackenzie Dern, the same thing. She clinches her up at the 4-minute, 20-second mark, finally gets her down. She has over 4 minutes of control, plus ground and pound strikes. How does that not equate to a 10-8 round? So I think these judges need to get in there to know what it feels like, because they're watching it and then it takes away, like, okay, why am I going to grapple if I'm never going to get a 10-8 round, no matter how dominant of a position I get? Like, I just don't know. I don't really understand it. So,
I tweeted during the round. I said, is this a 10-8 round? Like, because it was in my head, it was close to a 10-8 round. Ultimately, I did not score it a 10-8 round, and I'll tell you why I did not. I did not because I didn't think there was a near finish or the significant amount of damage. No, I know what you said at the beginning of your answer about what it feels like when it's coming, but one punch, one big right hand from somebody feels that way, right? And so I felt like there wasn't a near finish in submission. She didn't have the choke in. She didn't ever have the arm bar in. It wasn't like, Jan was having to break it. Jan did a great job of avoiding getting into them, but I felt like that near finish wasn't there. And so that's where that extra point didn't come from me.
Yeah, but if you're rendered defenseless the entire time for a 5-minute round, then what else is there for it to be a 10-8?
It was that was a tough one, right? Because I'm sitting there and you start here and then you're coming in the middle, and you're getting very close. And so I was sitting there. I tweeted it during the 5th round. I said, is this a 10-8 round? Because it was in my head that it was there. And I was looking for that, like you said, the way you refer to it, the elbow, maybe, or Mackenzie to have her in the arm bar for a while, or the choke for a while, that Jan figured a way out of it. So it was close, but it's interesting. So I guess your answer ultimately, in the short version of it, would be train the judges better.
I think the judges got to get in there and know what it feels like in these different positions. And I think when you have scenarios and rounds that you can look back at and then reference and then go through that yourself, then you can see what it feels like. Then you have a better understanding of what is what versus what you think is happening versus what is happening from experience. Like, you could throw that 1-2 cross and someone could roll with it and it looks like a big impactful strike, right, but you rolled with it because you're standing on the feet, versus you being flattened down and me stuffing your head and throwing a punch. Your head has nowhere to go. Right. That's a more impactful strike than that right cross that's hitting someone on the move because they're rolling with it. There has some give, versus you stuck on the ground and me throwing these shots. Dude, you ain't going nowhere. You take every single pound of impact from that strike. That's just my explanation.
If that's true, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but if that is true, then the referees have to start stopping fights sooner on the ground, right? Because a lot of times, I think the argument, especially when MMA was starting to blossom and people were starting to, come to MMA in bigger numbers, the thing was, well, it's not like boxing where you're getting hit in the head for, 36 minutes in a 12-round fight. Even if you're on the ground, they don't have the leverage that, that they have when they're standing. So now if what you're saying is true, then you're going to force referees to start stopping fights earlier, right? Because if your head doesn't have anywhere to go and you're getting hit 10, 12, 14 times in a row.
I mean, it doesn't even need to be like, if I'm saying it's true, it's like, it's just common. I think it's common sense. I mean,
well, I believe you. No, I get it.
If you're mounted, or even like, let's say, who was it? Who was the guy that just fought? Davis versus Slav. In those positions, that fight should have probably been stopped multiple different times because that guy there was no option but for that guy to sit there and absorb the impact of those strikes. That's what I'm talking about, where you have nowhere to go. But when you're on the feet and Davis is getting hit, people see it and they're like, oh, he's getting
they can see the hit.
But you're moving away from it, where it's like, yeah, I'm getting more tired because I'm standing up there with you, versus now you're on the ground and you have literally no space for you to roll with the punch. You have to just absorb the entire impact. There's no like, I could stay on the cage and like I'm doing this like Ali thing and playing a rope-a-dope. There's none of that. You literally are stuck there and you have to accept everything. It's not like you have a choice.
Right.
Keith Peterson is one of the best refs. He let some of those fights go. And I applaud him for giving the fighter an opportunity to fight through every single chance that they can. But let's be honest, when you're stuck in those positions and you're just absorbing impact, that's what it is. You're just absorbing impact and damage. So that's why I looked at that fight. I'm like, if people watch that fight again, that 5th round with Mackenzie Dern, you're going to be like, okay, I see what he's saying now. I get what he's saying now. Because I just don't think, like, what else do you have to do to get a 10-8 round? I'm like, damn, not every fight you're going to be able to posture up cleanly, but you're going to be able to land those 10 strikes that are not significant strikes. But I'm like, you know what that feels like? Not you per se, but until people are in those positions and knows what it feels like, then they're going to be like, okay, I get it now. That's actually a more fucked up position than this position right here that I thought. But I get that because I've been in those positions before. I'm like, dude, your head is ringing. You have to be there to understand what it's like to get hit like that with those 4-ounce gloves, short elbows, and you're gonna be like, all right, I would much rather be on the feet and being able to move my feet and slide away from the impact versus just being stuck there and having to just take the shots and the ref thinks, oh, it's not that bad. Trust me, it's way worse than people actually think.
That's why I respect what you guys do so much. Aljamain, I could talk to you all day. Appreciate it, brother. Good luck. UFC 280, Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw in the co-main event. Should be a good one. Best of luck to you, champ.
Thank you.
Thanks.